Hello, my dotlings, and welcome to another Shameless Self Promotion right here in Madame Tortuga's Lounge with Dottie the Psychic as your host. Don't forget that you can also check out more of the story on Patreon, where the patrons go to support me, Dottie. You can also check out my website, dottieThepsychic.com. With that being said, let's meet this Shameless Self Promotion's guest. Hello, my dotlings, and welcome to another episode of Shameless Self Promotion right here on Madame Tortuga's Lounge with your host, Dottie the Psychic, and our guest,
Ravenflower
and BlueNightt.
Hi.
Howdy.
Hello, folks. This should be a fun one. So this is actually this is the third time that Nathan has been on our show. He has been here before in its many former incarnations, but since we're revamping this show, I'm trying to bring back my favorites. And I've been trying to get Raven on here for a while now, actually. I think we've been trying.
It's been a while. I mean, it's been a hot minute. It really has. We've just been I think our schedules just don't mesh. So yeah.
Well, I mean, they're so full. It's not even that they don't mesh. It's that, when you get busy, entertainment industry of any kind is always very, very busy.
Yeah.
Slang.
And I know that, so one of the big things that a lot of you know that we found Drunken Divination right about the point where you were hitting 1,000 subscribers. And that's kind of how we started hanging out, was because I was trying to feed off your stardom just a little bit.
Stardom. Girl, listen. If only. Take it all. Take it all.
You were right around 1,000 subscribers. How many subscribers is Drunken Divination up to now?
Well, it's just on your BlueNightt
So
channel, so it's.
I don't know.
So Drunken Divs doesn't have their own subscriber count. It's still on his channel.
So we've got Drunken Divs streams on my YouTube channel, which is BlueNightt, and Drunken Divs also streams on its own Facebook, but we're linked through and sponsored by Sabbath Social now. So, I mean, we have to say how many subscribers do you have is kind of like
over 3 different platforms. You're like, oh,
let me add these up. But if we were to look at my YouTube channel, how do I get to that? Let's see.
You go to YouTube.
I go to YouTube.
And then you type
that might help.
And then you type in the things.
You know what? Don't worry about it. It is not a question we need an answer for. Tell me more about Sabbath Social. So this is a massive project. Folks, this is probably going to be most of the episode is talking about Sabbath Social. They both got their own things going on separately, but Sabbath Social has become this amalgamation, this whole community project. Yeah. It's been kind of, I haven't been able to sit down and pay attention to it because I've got our own thing going on down here, but it does pop up on my YouTube. You've got it's almost a network of witches now.
It is a network. Sabbath Social was created. It was so I have party planning skills, event coordination for corporate events and various other things. 3rd generation floral designer. I've done all of the things. And then I've also done a lot of travel. So I started with Ravenflower YouTube channel
2016,
somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And I started doing witchy meet and greets because I realized that there was a lot of solitary practitioners of all different kinds of paths under that pagan umbrella that would stay in their homes and they're not living their lives. They're just straight up, keyboard warriors, but they're not really engaging with other witches in any capacity. And they're not really having those conversations. They're not making friends. And so I started doing witchy meet and greets. And that started in Texas, and then we branched out and started doing witchy cruises. So we brought the element of YouTube live shows, which Sabbath Social does about anywhere from 10 to 15 YouTube live shows a month, which are free on our Sabbath Social YouTube channel that you can go and engage with. And we've got, I want to say 12 to 13 practitioners at this point in time.
Oh, probably more than that.
More than that? You think it's more?
I think technically we have more than that if you include...
We've got full-timers, and then we have associates.
Right.
So Dottie is actually an associate Sabbath Social member because her podcast is linked on our website, and she occasionally comes in as a guest here and there and all that stuff. So we probably have more like 20.
Yeah, and then if you add on to just the shows, not even just the shows, but our bloggers.
Oh my gosh.
As well.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of us.
Yeah, we have about 4 bloggers now that are doing stuff. We have new people coming on. We have 2 younger people coming on, what I'm very excited about. But we don't do just that. We do 1 in-person event a month. So this month we have our 2nd annual beach day where we're doing a potluck, we're doing a ritual, we're doing all the things, we're doing some grilling, and we're having a wonderful time at beach day. And then we actually set sail and we go on various cruises and all of that stuff. So we've got a big, large meet and greet happening on the Queen Mary.
Ooh.
On the Queen Mary in April 2024. And then right after that, from that cruise terminal, we're setting sail on a Mexican Riviera cruise for 7 days. So that's the next, that would be the 4th witchy cruise.
Yeah.
Well, third for Sabbath Social. So we had Alaska.
We're working to have on 4 still. Like there's, yeah.
So
on that, like you got to have a little money to do that, but that does sound like a lot of fun.
We do. We have a lot of fun, and I teach people how to go on these trips and go on these things. There's payment plans for that. Nobody has to be rich. I live paycheck to paycheck. I've got payment plans for everything, but I'll schedule it down so that you're able to do the things that you want to do now. Don't wait for the money to come because tomorrow's not promised.
That's true.
Don't wait because you're going to miss it. You're going to miss it. And the last cruise that we went on was to Belize, Cozumel, and Isle of Roatan. In Belize, we got to climb a Mayan pyramid. We did a ritual. Yeah, you could say
that was actually really cool. I know that's you did a vlog on that and it was out because I remember watching that and being like, I couldn't watch it very long because I was being a bit of a petty, jealous bitch. I'm like,
oh my gosh. Well, it part of that travel is that we're going to some sacred spaces. We're also branching out to do more of like haunted tourism or dark tourism, where we can get in line with other guides that are already out there that will take you. And then as from the witchy perspective, we will make sure that you get cleansed before, get cleansed after, all of those things so that you can do these things, see the stuff that you want to see, but also be appropriate and be respectful of the dead and the site so that we're not hurting or harming anything. And also you're not taking back any dark carriers in the same spot. So, but that's just, again, another layer of Sabbath Social. We also have study groups for the members. We have a member-only forum that we go after. So right now, we just finished tea leaf reading. We're still reading 365 Goddess, which is literally a year-long study group. We're opening it up next year in January for palmistry. We're going after spirit companions, animal companions. We have a huge list. We've got several different workshops going on, and that's just still more stuff. That's another layer. Then we actually have the Nerd Herd, which is D&D. We have D&D every Sunday night.
Yes.
And then we also have video game warriors as well. that are streaming on Twitch, as well as, you know, kind of like phone games and stuff like that. So we're covering all bases.
We're handling
really
health and like mind, body, and soul stuff, where we have like
virtual walks. Virtual walks. Do you want to get one of my medals?
Yes.
So we just earned our 3rd medal as a group, as a team. So those people that want to do the virtual walking and they've got like Fitbits that they want to, you know, join in and do the stuff. Like here's one from Transylvania that we just won.
Oh, that's cool.
Isn't that cool? And then look at the back. Isn't that cute? So we had a team of 4 go after this, and we divvy up the mileage, but that was about 400 miles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That bitch is heavy.
It is heavy. It is a heavy medal. I know. So yeah, we're going after all the things. We're really trying to engage with the community, bring people out of their little hidey holes, and experience life, body, mind, and soul, and also celebrate, because there's a lot of us solitary practitioners that just don't do it. They just don't, and we have every right to do so.
And if I may say,
you can say,
without those of you out there who may be watching this later, you know, a lot of people were concerned early on, especially, that we would be a coven. And that's not what we are. We do welcome covens to participate. We welcome people of every walk of magic practice or spiritual or metaphysical practice. You don't have to be a witch. You don't have to be a Wiccan. But we do welcome everybody of all walks of life. And it's really just more of a way to engage with the community, both in niche and also broadly.
Yeah.
So, you know, we do have people who are members of covens who are members, and, you know, sometimes they hook up and with other people or new members or new friends, and they might share some coven info to like say, you know, hey, we're having an open circle or what have you. So that's definitely something that is a part of it, but we're not like, we're not the strict rule.
We're like a pagan coexist.
Yeah.
For all the fun.
Yeah, it almost kind of reminds me of the old Witch Fox. Like, this actually seems to be a real replacement for Witch Fox.
Kind of similar.
If you came out of the broom closet in the 90s.
Yeah, but then add trips.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, if Witch Fox had taken it to the next level.
Yeah.
I guess so. I
guess can see that.
I don't think I was around for that, but I have been told that several times. Was it?
Yeah. Okay. Witch Fox had, so it was very HTML.
Okay, good.
But like, you could go on and you could find, they'd have, what I liked about it is, my favorite part was their shop list. And you could go in and you could go by state and city, and shops and stores and stuff would go in, and they could like register their stores with Witchbox, and they'd have like their own little profile.
Nice.
I loved that part. And I also love the personal profiles as well, because you could go
the classes and clergy and
wow.
And they were all like listed out.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a thing for quite a while.
Well,
I don't think it is a thing anymore. But
no, I think it finally went down in like the teens.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, like 2010, 2013.
Well, I guess that's what we are. We're
Kinda
just
like
adding more
little
things
more
to it. Yeah,
a lot more involved. Like, it definitely seems like you all are taking it to the next level.
It's really important. Like, he and I met in a Facebook group when I was literally losing my religion from Christianity, not knowing where to go, feeling lied to at 40.
That's Raven in the corner.
Yeah, losing my religion.
That's
absolutely.
Her in the spot.
Light. Yeah, that was a thing. And
moment now, there's no shame in that. We've got a lot of first generation pagans who've been through that very same experience.
Well, I always have been witchy, but I hid in the church because I was told that's where the darkness wasn't going to get me. That's where I'm like, there's more demons in the church than there is outside the church. Let me just say, that's certainly a thing. But he and I met in a Facebook group where we were told, you can't do that. You're not allowed to use rose petals for blah, blah, blah.
How dare you use
lavender
for prosperity.
like whatever. And then also we noticed that I identify as bi. Here's a slay gay. And there is also that weird dynamic of where does the LGBTQ community fit in paganism, because there's some factions out there that don't allow you. Yeah, they don't accept. So
I hate to say this, but I do think that it is positioned, we're working on Metro Valley Pagan Pride down here, and you've got Sabbath Social, but this is kind of how we push that faction into obscurity, let's claim it hard and quick, because there's a long tradition of there being a big connection between the LGBT and the pagan community. I mean, it's a trope for a reason, but why is it all our pagan why are all the old men in the coven also drag queens?
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was important for us to make a safe space for people to say there's new witchlings or baby witches or whatever what term you want to use, new to witchcraft in general, that are trying to learn their path. And they're like, well, Wiccan doesn't resonate with me, but I'm interested in this. Well, then you need to go here, talk to this person. They're the expert on such and such and blah, blah, blah. And we kind of navigate that way. So we never, part of our rules of engagement is that we don't solve anybody's problems for them. We certainly will not tolerate any bigotry, any racism, any sexism, any ageism. We absolutely will not. Those are the only real gatekeeping that we do. The rest of it is everybody's allowed to speak their mind, as long as you're not putting somebody else down in order to make yourself rise up. There's no hierarchy. We're not a coven. We're just there to support other witches doing the witchy things.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing we don't tolerate is intolerance.
Word.
Mm-hmm.
I've been watching a lot of left-wing political stuff, especially with the whole Trump indictment. So I may be a bit indoctrinated at this point.
No, I hear you. But I feel like in fundamentalism or extremism, on political extremism as well as religious fundamentalism, I can't even talk. Both things are red flags for me, because I think that we're all basically in that journey. We're all a work in progress. It can change, it can shift at any moment in time, but wouldn't it be nice to have that person or people with you going, you know what, I'm not feeling this. I want to talk about it. And that sometimes happens, or they're going through something. They're like, I need people to do spell work with me that I can actually trust.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or, hey, I'm going through a really, really difficult time. Can somebody put me on their altar? Can somebody light a candle for me? The internet has become this spot where people want to do this to you. They want to do this to you, or they want to insert their agenda into your path. And then therefore it's no longer yours.
You know what? That is true of every space, though. Unless, with few exceptions, with exceptions of things that are built around the purpose of making safe spaces, there's always somebody who wants to tell somebody else how to live their life, even though they're not doing a very good job of their own.
Yep, and we kick them out.
And we have.
And we will. And we will. Yep. We just won't tolerate it, because there's no growth for the other people when everybody's feeling that kind of stifled. Mm-hmm. If you can't speak your truth, then how do you ever get to find out what works for you and what doesn't work for you? We've had people, we've got Haitian magic, we've got hoodoo priestess. We've
Sex
got
magic.
sex magic practitioner. We got all gamuts. I mean, it's all over the place. It's all over the place. And we just like, okay, all right, that's awesome that you're doing that. That may not work for me, but I respect you, witch. And I'm right here should you need anybody.
Right.
Yep.
It's all really about, we're about the learning, but we're more so about the, let's provide a safe space for everyone to learn rather than being concerned with being the teachers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like everybody wants to teach. Everybody is like first to get their own, like a lot of people are really excited to get their own traditions out there and make it a thing. But we're more about the, let's have a safe space where we can learn, but also have fun with it, you know?
Where you feel comfortable to actually ask the questions. Because sometimes you're in those courses, and I know I've taken them, and I'm like, I feel like I can't ask a question. Or they're
Oh yeah, some of them. I tell you what, I'm in a weird position on this. This is part of why I'm a coyote, because like I found magic when I was in a kind of a dark place, and I basically just started to watch a bunch of YouTube videos on all sorts of just anything magical. There's a little bit of that, a little bit of this, and that would. So I guess it's more genuinely eclectic.
Yeah.
Genuinely eclectic, as in like I have no tradition. So by the time I left the mountain, by the time I had worked myself up enough to leave, I had already acquired a significant amount of magical knowledge. And I would go out into the world, and these people would try to take me under their wing like I was some sort of chick.
Yep.
Like, let me teach you the right way to do magic. I'm like, get
Yep.
your paws off me. I'm not joining your cult.
Yep. That's exactly right.
You know, and that is so funny too about
these ridiculous closed systems.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say they're ridiculous. I wouldn't say they're ridiculous. I would, however, say that there are a lot of people out there in the magical community who think that, ironically, their way is the only right way.
True.
Even though they just made it up.
Even though, I mean, let's look at Wicca, okay? Let's take a look at Wicca. And I'm not trying to be mean towards Wicca. I'm not trying to point fingers, but this is the path that kind of opened the door for everybody here in the States.
Me too. Yeah.
So,
it's like that's where we all sort of start.
Yeah. I mean, kind of. So, you know, Wicca is really the first documented pagan, like since the 60s or 70s, was the first documented recognized pagan religion as far as witchcraft goes here in the States. But, you know, Wicca, as far as traditional Wicca goes, is all about having a coven, is all about having degrees, is all about, you know, study. I mean, study for a year and a day before you can even really become a witch.
Right.
Whereas my ancestors, I highly doubt ever were in a coven, you know, but my grandmother practiced forms of what I would call magic, you know. So it's like, where are we going? When do we recognize that not everybody is part of a
traditional
or a organized type of religious sect, you know? So and that was something that was really important, I think, for us as well, when we started Sabbath Social. And that's kind of why we went towards, there's a lot of traditional taste, like even to our website, there's a lot of traditional winks where we wink to the traditional witchcraft or the folklore aspect of the craft. I mean, hell, our homepage has people flying and dancing in the moonlight. But it's kind of funny because we are always going to welcome those types of people, but this is something completely different. It's that connection, but also still recognizing that we can all do our own thing if we want to.
We have a shirt that says witches against bullshit.
It's bullshit. I need this shirt. Let's talk about the merch for a minute. Yeah, your all's logo is pretty freaking awesome. I gotta say it is pretty freaking awesome logo.
Thank you. This one also helped clean it up, but yes, thank you very much. We worked on it hard. We did. That was months of work.
I do wanna go ahead and talk about that for a little bit.
I've got it right here. I've got a sticker so that you can
slay.
See it here.
Okay, so this is the logo in question. And so when we were discussing what we wanted this to be, we really had an idea before we had any names or like.
Okay, you don't have to hold it up. I will put it up in post. I'm going to edit this. I'm going to hold it.
Slay.
You could send me a picture and I will actually like pop it on the screen.
I did. You got one.
Slay. Yeah. I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so it was obviously an idea before we really fine-tuned any names or like an aesthetic or anything. And I think that I see, Raven, I don't know how much background you have in like knowing about traditional witchcraft.
I know some. I don't know all. I really started my studies in 2016.
Right.
But I was also taken down a path by somebody who's like, let me teach you all the things. And then basically made me feel bad for every original thought that I ever had.
Yeah, because that's a cult. You know what? Here's the thing. This is something I do want to address because you don't see this. One of the things I like about Pagan Pride and one of the things I like Sabbath Social, anytime that you get the more adults you have in the group, the less likely you are to end up with these weird little culty situations where you've got one person who thinks they know everything, and if anybody dissents, then they're just not into magic. And honestly, that's part of why I didn't get into it, because I was, I think I was like 16, and my friend brought me home to meet her mom, and that was her coven. And so it was all about this woman who did way too many drugs in front of kids. That was the coven. That was the whole coven.
I'm just kidding.
Like, I don't think this is what a coven is, and I don't think I'll be back.
Was she one of those moms that's like, is there alcohol in this? Oh, God, no, sweetie. What kind of mother do you think I am? Why? Do you want some? Because if you're going to do it, I'd rather you do it in the house.
Do it in the house.
Oh, no, she'd be the one who would just straight.
My mom was like that, too.
No. She would just straight pull the plate out and roll one up and pass around to the kids.
Oh, shit. Okay, that's a little rough. That's a little rough.
It happens.
I have Puerto Rican background. I'm very mixed, but a huge chunk of my heritage or culture is Puerto Rican. So my tias would do magic. Like, now that I'm in this world and in this community, I'm like, oh, y'all are straight up doing the stuff. Like, I mean, rubbing the eggs on people would come, like there was all different kinds of stuff. There was messages rolled up in banana leaves and burnt. There was all different kinds of things. And it's like, why do I feel this way? Why do I do these things? A lot of what I do is like intuitive. And I'm feeling it in the moment, often with spell work or when I'm creating products for my shop. I check out. I absolutely check out. And when I'm done making whatever I'm doing, I have to take a picture of it so I know what I put in it.
Same.
This is me not judging. Watch me not judge.
That's funny. And that's the point, though. It's like, to Sabbath Social, that is the point. It's to not judge everybody on what they're doing. It's more so to recognize that there is a common thread almost in the spirituality of it. And obviously there's some things that Raven probably does that doesn't work for me, or that I do that Raven's like, ew, But what's interesting is when you sit down with somebody and you have a conversation and you're very open-minded about things, how much you can get accomplished and how much you can just create and make happen. But as far as like the logo goes, and that was kind of a perfect situation of that, because I am not in trad witchcraft, as they say. I am not an initiate of any coven.
Norma.
But I have.
Let's not take anything from the Christians. No trad.
I have read a lot of material from traditional witches who have been open enough to put their personal practice out there. So what was inspiring to me is when Raven came to me with this idea that we both kind of sort of sparked in a way between each other.
Mm.
And when she was like, but I want to go bigger. I think we should do this and this and this and this and this. I was like, you know, what's really interesting to me, and this is not me teaching anybody, so please do your own research and look into this. But with a lot of open traditional witchcraft practices, there is a thought process of the Sabbath, which is an astral plane more than it is a time. And this astral plane is more of a meditation area that you can go to. You can send your astral self to in order to interact with other witches and also be taught by the king of the witches and the goddess and so forth. And I thought when Raven came to me and was like, you know, you said this, and I think we should go bigger, and I think we should make it this. I was like, so it's like the Sabbath, but, you know, in person, like tangible and on the internet.
It's obtainable everybody where
it's something
they're
you
at.
can touch.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just on the astral plane, but it's so in a way, that's kind of where when we were talking about the aesthetic.
You never told me this. This is new information.
I know. And I only actually the only person that I've told this to is Jasmine Ambrosia, who is a wonderful witch, who is a traditional witch.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually came to me, and I did tell you this.
Yes.
She came to me and she said, "Are you a Raven initiated?" And I was like, no. And she's like, because I'm getting a lot of traditional witchcraft vibes from the aesthetic, and I said, well, yeah, because in a way that was kind of the inspiration, but also what we're kind of like trying to welcome, but also we're trying to separate ourselves from, because we're not we're not a closed practice.
We're not a closed practice.
Right.
But we welcome people of closed practices to participate. Mm-hmm. So it's...
You know, it's funny because I know two kinds of people with closed practices. You know, like the oath-bound traditions that we think of as being traditional witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
Like the degrees and the initiations and the oath thing or things like that. And then the other one are like the crazy mountain witches. I don't know what I'm doing with my hair. I keep playing with it because it finally grew back.
It's fabulous, though. I love it.
There's a lot of body.
Definitely going through my 1980s boy star phase right now.
That's okay. I
love the curl. Like, it kind of feathers up all the way. It frames your face.
You need one of those like 80s caps, you know, where it's all fabric, where it has just the little brim that comes up.
Cute.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
because then your bangs will curl over them.
That'd be cute.
Perfect.
Anyway, mountain witches, though, you say?
Mountain witches. I'm telling you what. There's like a whole culture. It's funny because at least paganism around here is split right down the middle. There are like you have these people who are like a lot of first generation, and they're more like the mainstream witches. And then you've got this other sort of almost underground group-ish. It's not even a group. It's West Virginia. Like, it's just traditional West Virginia witches. They don't even know each other. Half of them are never going to leave their mountain again. You know?
Sometimes I don't blame them.
That fits the vibe.
Right. I'm like, they're not going to teach you anything because they don't know you. And you've got these other people that won't teach. Well, I can't teach you because it's sacred knowledge. I'm like, dude, whenever I see somebody do that, this is one thing that it drives me just a little bit insane. I'm like, number one, it's probably already out there. Like you could probably find a YouTube video on whatever that is. They said that they've got so secret, so hidden. And number two, if you're meant to have it, that magic will come.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
No, I don't.
You're not wrong.
No.
To me. Now I know some that I can work with and I'm friends with, but as soon as I hear high priestess anything, I'm usually running.
Flocking.
I'm usually like, deuces, bye, because I feel a layer of judgment. I feel a layer of, I don't know, like they.
You know, again, though, like here's, and I've got friends that are high. I have a friend who's a high priestess. But there is like this standard of not wanting to be commercialized, and then on top of it, wanting to get legitimized.
Yeah.
And people will do stupid things to make themselves feel legitimate, things that are just so made up and so obviously made up that you're like, that's not how you get respect.
No.
You know, you don't get respect by titles in a group where.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not to say, like, I also want to, because again, okay, I don't want the conversation to stomp on or make people feel like
we're down
belittling
on,
that.
No, we're not.
Because there are traditions in which someone becomes a high priestess or a high priest.
We have one of our practitioners, Tam.
Right.
Tammy. Oh, two.
Three.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into it. There's a lot.
We have two high priestesses that are with us, Tamanova and Chris Ashburn.
But Chris is the high priestess of her family tradition.
And then we've got Jenny Love, which is a Strega witch, and she's got her traditions. You know, that's a very, very much.
And here, I guess the thing is, the difference is, though, is there is a bridge. There's always a bridge somewhere. And you reach that bridge. Before Sabbath Social, you would reach that bridge with people when you would genuinely become friends with a person. And they would say, well, I'm a high priestess, and this is just an example. I'm a high priestess of this tradition. And you might ask, well, how did you become a high priest of that tradition?
Mm-hmm.
And they might ask, well, are you interested in becoming? And then they would list out the things that you would have to do, which is totally fine, because that's the purpose of that title, is to do the things and grab that title. I guess Sabbath Social is that bridge now. Like Sabbath Social is the bridge that bridges that gap, so you can find those friends. And if you are a coven or a structured or a
structure and other people, and then look, I know I'm sitting here talking shit about traditions because I have some of my own shit to work through. I know, because I feel like I have been kind of like looked down on occasion.
Right, and that's us.
But that happens to us too, because I am an intuitive, eclectic witch, and I think that you've moved away from Wiccanism.
Yeah, because of that reason. And that's the three of us. I'm just saying, for the aspect of the viewers who are watching this later, and we don't mean to necessarily talk shit.
No, but
it's just not for us.
But that's our personal experience with that.
Right.
But then I still have friends that are high priestesses that don't do the nasty things that was done to me.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're not like that. Right. They are actually walking the walk and talking the talk.
Right. And it's a lot of work. Like, you know, it's a lot of work. I have put in my work into my path, but there is something to be said for getting, you know, some sort of title that shows that you have achieved this mark in your spiritual path and that you're prepared to help other people. And if you're using it like that, then good on you. Absolutely. Like, if you are using your high priest title to draw people in to teach, I mean, that's not a bad thing, because in a real tradition, it can take literal years. You know, was it like a year and a day for each degree?
Y'all,
that's a lot of training.
Now, we've both gone through officiant, status, so we can marry people. You
Right.
know, we do that, but we do it as a more of a coexist
Right.
type situation.
In a
So
way, you
we'll do
you
hand
would be
fasting or traditional
considered,
marriage.
you and I would be considered priests of our own traditions. And
Mhm.
I think that's important to realize too, is that nowadays,
Which I'm trying to think.
and
We
this is
have-
something I've said in the past too, is that nowadays the need,
officiants.
at least in America and in most of Europe, there is no longer a need to have to hide
Right.
your magical practice.
Right.
So those covens that are hiding their recipes, are hiding their traditions, are doing it for the fact of tradition, or they're doing it for the fact of fear that obviously the burning times may come again, and they probably will. But that's a whole other darker show.
That's why we got to go to pagan pride, folks.
Right.
Yeah.
It's time to come out of the broom closet to stick to. Yeah.
Right. Whereas now it's more like Dottie said, like you said, now you can go online and you can find a lot of somebody of that tradition who has broken away
Just gonna
or
talk
who
about this
has
one.
found another path, has probably put that information on the internet somewhere or put it in a book.
Mhm.
There's a lot of trad witches out there who are writing certain practices that were once considered sacred and closed.
Yeah.
They're putting them in their books, which is totally fine because they more than likely went through what they needed to. So in a way, you're learning from a high priest or priestess.
Mhm.
But, you know, I think it's important to realize that nowadays it's also not the common thing to hide your practices. Like more people now are, I mean, we're popping up like daisies.
We are, yeah.
Literally. We're everywhere.
Literally coming out of the woodwork.
We're literally,
literally
I mean,
coming
in
out of the woodwork.
Iceland or something, yeah. In Iceland or whatever, can you tell that I'm like, I've got shit behind me right now? Yeah. So in some ways, there's more of us now. I mean, in Iceland, paganism is now, is it Iceland or Greenland? I think it's Iceland. Paganism is now the majority rather than Christianity.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, but awesome as well.
But awesome.
Yeah.
So, you know, eventually we're going to hit a time where nobody thinks this is a negative thing and it's not going to have the taboo anymore, and we're going to be the reg again.
Right.
So that statistically, that's where the numbers are going. So, I mean,
Which is why
the bridge is necessary.
the
so we
bridge
can all
is
have fun.
necessary. The bridge is necessary, but it's also what's happening with politics and
Right.
you know, the religious churches right now are like, they're in a form of, to me, desperation.
Oh yeah.
Absolute desperation, because even the
It always gets worse before it gets better.
Well, yeah, and even the Christian mystics that you and I know, and we do have members that are Christian mystics, they would never put their beliefs and, you know, shove it down anybody's throat. They're sitting here asking us questions. What do you think about this? And what do you think about that? Some of them have turned where they have become more eclectic and still have their deity being Jesus. That's what they feel most comfortable about. It is a personal path. They're personal.
Right. I do know a lot of people who will, you know, they will identify fully as pagan, have a multi-deity pantheon. But yeah, Jesus has still got a place there. And honestly, like, I think this is one of the things, I'm not telling the Christians what to do because it's not my book. It's not my book. But I do think that Christians should start taking the title Christian back and call these other people heretics. Like, it's not my book, but that's not what the guy said.
Yeah.
You know, like, these people are out there losing their stuff. I'm like, I know it's not my religion and it's not my book, but that is also not what that guy said.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put that. Really,
you know,
good way.
it kind of reminds me a little bit of Sabbath Social, where how we interact with, especially there's distinct differences in practices or journeys. It's kind of like a workplace that's all inclusive and everybody can fly their own flag. Everybody can say their sexual orientation. Everybody can tell, you know what religion they are, and there is no judgment in regards to that. That's kind of how we roll.
Right.
That's kind of how we roll. Yeah. And we keep in mind, oh, you're doing that? Awesome. So when I come into somebody or come in contact with somebody that needs that information, I'm going to send them to you. Is that okay?
And
okay.
That's an important thing to note too, is that, again, Sabbath Social, we are not teaching people necessarily. We have study groups in which we all learn together, but we make sure that, the material that we have, or whoever is doing the teaching, does know what they're doing, and they agree, and it is not against, if they are a closed practice, it's not against that practice. Correct. To teach us what they're teaching us.
Right.
So, and I think that's important too, because a big problem is you get into like YouTube and you get into these books where people are not necessarily initiated, or, they say they're the professional and they know all the things of this subject, and they invented it when really they didn't.
No, that is very true. There is a lot of people that they'll read a paragraph and then think they're an expert.
Yep.
And we've all seen that. I know it was that way for a very, very short period of time.
And cancel culture, to me, and that's something that we discuss probably on the regular,
like probably daily.
Cancel culture, because it is a culture, which means it is constantly changing. And one thing that really bugs me is somebody who is not a part of a practice pointing a finger at somebody who, for example, I have literally witnessed somebody on social media. I'm not going to say what social media or who this person was or who they were pointing at, but they pointed at a pagan author for teaching a closed practice, and judged them off of the color of their skin and the fact that certain material was in this book that they had authored. And they were telling everybody, and this person happened to have a big following, and they were telling everybody not to buy this book because there are closed practices in the book. Well, I'm sorry, but you don't know, based off the color of that person's skin, you don't know if that person is an initiate of that closed practice.
That's also true.
And if they are an initiate of that closed practice, to a certain degree, they may have the right to write a book about that closed practice.
Right.
You have no right to say, don't read this or don't purchase it, because you don't know their business.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we're trying to avoid that as well.
I mean, there's definitely, here's my thing. I've got some thoughts and feels about it, because I make dream catchers and God's eyes, and those are both considered cultural appropriation, but I've been making them since I was a child. I will still occasionally make them. I want to go back to selling them because I've made really beautiful dream catchers, but I'm also aware that will rain hell down on my own head. Even though it's a practice that was kind of shoved on to Native Americans because there was only ever one tribe that did it.
Yeah.
So,
I fully understand what you're saying. But my cousin, a blonde white woman married to a black man who has beautiful mixed babies, beautiful mixed babies, my little second cousins, she had done dreadlocks. And she was ridiculed for having dreadlocks in her hair because the African American community was coming for her, or actually more white people were coming for her, saying that she should not have her hair that way, when actually the Irish had dreadlocks.
Well, they had fade.
They had faylocks,
which are a little different
because of the texture of the hair.
Dreadlocks are not specifically African American.
No, they're not.
They appear in other cultures. Because
people have these assumptions, and then they just start piling it on. Another example is we have a member that is a very much Romani, does not like the word gypsy. Then we have a brand new team member. Her whole family is Romani, and they love the word gypsy. They're like, we're taking this.
I've been kicked out of Facebooks by a bunch of 21-year-old white kids.
It's always
saying that word.
5-year-old white kids. Yep.
25-year-old white kids. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not trying to be that way, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Because we have a shop called Barefoot Gypsy, and I love Paula. We love Barefoot Gypsy. She's a freaking pillar of the community, you know, and she's one of the darker pillars of the community, which is great because people tend to be a little overly love and light sometimes, and you need somebody who's a little more earthy.
Yeah.
And she picked that name because her grandmother was driven out of Poland.
Uh-huh.
But this little group of 25-year-olds from way up north, and I've even told this story to other people, and I'm like, gypsy's not an okay word. I'm like, it's in business names. And I understand that. It wasn't.
It's not going to make Stevie Nicks stop playing that song.
Right. I mean, and I do understand that it was at one point a slur, but words evolve, words change. And I know that as long as I've been around, that word meant freedom. It didn't just mean the Romney people. It meant somebody who was free in themselves.
Correct. I mean, but here you have two totally different people from the exact same culture that don't agree. But in the social, they respect each other.
Right.
They respect each other and they start having conversations. Well, why do you feel that way? Oh, okay. Then maybe I'm rethinking the way I'm thinking because whatever they were told might have been a little toxic. Right. And so then they're like, oh, okay, I can give you some credence on that. I think it's very similar to some gay slurs that take back.
It's the same flavor in a way of the term warlock.
Okay.
Because
warlock. Yeah,
a lot of witches don't want to be called warlock because in German it's oathbreaker.
Yeah.
But you know what? No, okay, so
but But we have openly pagan people, Devin Hunter, Matt Oren, Storm, Fairy Wolf, Chas Bogan. I mean, they're all together. That's why I listed them that way. But they all openly call themselves warlocks. Well, I don't know about Matt for sure. Don't quote me on that. But Chas, Devin, and Storm openly call themselves warlocks because they're like, yes, oathbreaker, but we take that into the consideration of oath being the oath of the church. So not necessarily an oath meaning the oath of the coven or a coven, but an oath of the covenant or the church. So some people are reclaiming that warlock title, and that's completely fine. You know?
So I have these theories that sometimes the really racist shit is so old nobody realizes it anymore.
Right.
Because one of the things I watch a lot of different kinds of paganism on YouTube. I watch a lot of people of color. We have, there is a strong pagan influence. They've got their own, people have paganism pops up when the place is in between.
Yeah.
Whenever this being suppressive fails, there will be a pagan flower. So, but a lot of the people that I've watched who are from the South, but a lot of them identify as warlocks
or wizards. That's the other thing that I'm coming across.
I don't like that one personally,
no,
but I'm not judging anybody.
Hear me out.
I'm not judging anybody either, but it does sound like a boy on a broom.
You're a wizard, Harry. However, but then there are those that are non-binary that want to be called either wizard or witch.
Right.
So, I think it's wrong to generalize anything. And if you're not part, to me, also with pronouns, it's like I'll ask the person a pronoun, but I'm more worried is whether or not that person is a jerk. I will name. I will call you all the things, but I'm probably going to mess up your pronouns. I probably will.
That's all right.
Because I'm not going to remember. I talked to how many people throughout how many times.
I'll remember pronouns, but I'll forget names.
I'll remember names, but I'll forget pronouns. And it's not anything that I'm purposely doing. There is no malice behind it at all.
But the difference is though, you will openly correct yourself and
I will.
you'll apologize.
I will.
And that's important too, is to realize.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to be not an asshole. Like, that's
Right.
really important. Because I'm a they, them, and I still forget the pronouns.
You know, I mean, it's important to, personally, I always say they just as a safe fallback, but also
smart.
But also it's important to just apologize and, you know, openly admit that you did something, you know, you made a mistake,
or that made them feel feel wrong. And then there's some people that don't think that pronouns are a big deal, so they just don't care. They're like, oh, I could do this, or this. You're fine.
I had a tattoo artist, Anthony and I had a tattoo artist in Florida who went by they, them pronouns. And I accidentally called them she during an appointment. And I like caught myself when I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And she's like, oh, it happens all the time to meaner people, but thank you so much for apologizing. Oh. And I think that they said that. Did I do it again?
No.
Fuck me. Anyway, no. I think that's the important part, is that, you know, we need to make things a little bit more personal. And even with spiritual paths and terms like warlock and wizard and witch and magi. I haven't heard magi since like the early 90s.
You know what? I call myself a mage, a chaos mage. Not a magi, but a mage. Because, like, you know, the whole thing was they kind of they'll learn a system and then switch over to another system and create magic in their minds. It's not even like it's totally inventive. Totally. We're actually right at about an hour, so let's go ahead and wrap up. Where can people find more about Sabbath Social?
Ooh.
SabbathSocial.com, baby.
SabbathSocial.com. SabbathSocial.
Yes.
Look for the link in the description. You got
in the description. You can actually, we're on several different platforms. So your best bet, if you want to kind of get a flavor, kind of get a taste, and get all of the free stuff, go to SabbathSocial.com. You can go to the very bottom of every single page, sign up for Magic Mail, or basically the email. It's a newsletter that we send out every month, and there's usually Zoom links if you want to be a part of the book club discussion, if you want to be a part of the Crystal Club or the Crystal and Knowledge study group, or things of that nature. You can join that way, absolutely free. And also go to our YouTube channel, Sabbath Social. We're trying to grow that YouTube channel, but that's where all of our shows are. Most of the shows, most of the live events that we do have, we sometimes do witchy bingo. We're going to be starting witchy trivia nights in the fall where people can earn merch and prizes. So that's a whole lot of fun. We do witchy weekends. That's all on YouTube, where we've got...
Witchy Weekend does include Double Feature Friday, which you are a co-host for.
Me and Chris.
Chris Asper.
We take supernatural shows and movies that are given to us. We have a huge list that we're watching all these things, and we do a witchy review and sometimes have guests. Dottie, would you like to be a guest on one of those shows?
I would love to be a guest on that.
Awesome. Because Chris told me today, she's like, we got to work on guests. And I'm like, I'm on it.
Honey, yes.
I'm on it.
I'll bring a lot more energy next time.
It's about movies or shows. So it's super easy to relate to.
There's a lot of snacks. There's usually a drinking word that we pick. So those that want to have a drinking game, as soon as we say the word, they can take a gulp. And then, we have fun. And then on the Saturday of Witchy Weekend is you.
Drunken Dibs is a part of the Witchy Weekend lineup. So that's a sleigh.
And then we're either going to be doing bingo on Sunday night, or we're going to be doing the Witchy Trivia. And then we also have one of our resident readers from Australia. That's right. We're international. He does a whole live reading situation where he takes the first 13 in the chat and does a full spread for them.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's
pretty cool.
It's like Drunken Dibs, but more in depth and not drunk.
And then in between all of that, then we still have people that are doing witchy game reviews, like Mark, that are doing his Twitch.
Yep.
So like we got a lot going
A
on.
little bit of everything.
D&D on Sundays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but you can find all of that at sabbathsocial.com. Link will be below.
Yep. Go to the calendar. It'll be your friend. Go to the calendar. You're gonna love it.
We're gonna have to check that out later, folks. Hopefully I've gone through and added little bits throughout this video. If not, then you need to check it out on your own. And after that, you can come check out my website, DOTTIE,
I love the way she's saying it.
I do too.
I like it.
DOTTIE.
I'm telling you what, people remember that. Because there's two ways to spell Dottie.
Yes.
Right.
A lot of people want to spell it DOTTY. And I'm like, why would you do that to me?
Oh,
But it's
Why would you put a Y?
I know.
I. It's DOTTIE. But people remember it when I sing it like that.
I remember it. That's for sure.
I love it.
I love
Okay, so do y'all have any taglines? Because we're getting ready. We're ending the public broadcast. Remember, y'all can check us out. We're going to come back on here in just a minute on Patreon. That doesn't make sense. But, we're going to do our second part on Patreon.
Yeah, I mean, really, a lot of everything we have is go to the calendar on sabbathsocial.com. You're going to see all the upcoming events, all the cruises, the meet and greets, all that stuff is down there. It's in there. All of
our personal stuff, like
Yeah.
any websites that we have personally, I think are on the website as well.
as
So
well.
you can go to the About Us and
Mhm.
read about all of our
All
team
of our
members.
people.
So it's a sleigh.
Folks.
Aye. So
All right.
bye.
Safe travel and much profit to you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Shameless Self Promotion right here in Madame Tortuga's Lounge, hosted by Dottie the Psychic. If you'd like to hear more of this interview and maybe help out, support the channel or whatnot, you can totally go to Patreon.com/DOTTIE the Psychic. And if you'd like to see what other craziness I'm into, check out DOTTIEthepsychic.com. Safe travel and much profit to you.